A beautiful day to you, all my beloveds out there. I am Astarius Miraculi, and today I come to offer the subject, sacred sexuality, a very important subject in order for us to come into the full measure of our own creative power. Before I get into the full subject matter, I'm going to offer a little bit of the didgeridoo to prepare and clear the way for us. Life is a delicious something. Yes, indeed. Okay, so this is the subject of sacred sexuality, an area wherein we are meant to reclaim our power. There is so much power that has been given away and wasted in dark perceptions of sexuality. Sexuality is an energy that goes all the way back to the very beginning of creation. In the creation story, it says, "So God created the heavens and the earth was void and without form, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." It says, "And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." The face of the waters actually is the body of the mother. It said, "Let there be light." And there was light. So it was like this celestial copulation that actually took place between the Father and Mother God that brought about the manifestation of this great universe of which we are all a part. And there is something so sacred and so beautiful about the energy of sexuality, which gets such a bad rap. And because that same energy that brings erotic pleasure and makes babies is the same energy that gives vitality to the body, heals the body, and creates everything, it is so much better to have the hots than not. Because when you have a lot of sexual energy running through the body, then you have a great measure of creation force and access to creation force. Because that is the same energy that you will need to create anything. To create a house, to create a car, to create a wonderful quality within your being. That is the energy that creates everything. And there is a direct correlation between the cosmogasm. The cosmogasm is that energy that gave birth to the whole universe, as the orgasm is that energy that gave birth to each of us in our physical expression of being. And so this is an energy that it is really important for us to absolutely make peace with. No matter how much abuse and misuse of that energy there is in the world, the abuse and the misuse can never define this beautiful energy. This energy is defined by sacredness, by wonderfulness. And it's time for us to demystify it of all of the shadow and negative energies that have been attached to it and recognize the sacredness of it. One of the greatest empowerments that we could come into is erotic innocence. When we are able to resonate with the erotic energy within us from a place of innocence. We learn that from little children. Children are very innocent about their sexuality. Children pleasure themselves at a very early age without being taught how to do it. They just innately know that. And sometimes adults find their little ones self-pleasuring and then spank them and shame them and make them wrong for this self-discovery that they are exploring within their own body. When an adult shames or spanks a child for self-pleasuring, without knowing it, they're actually sexually abusing that child because they're attaching a negative judgment on that child based upon a natural experience that the child is having. And yes, the child needs to be taught and given some insight into what this energy is all about and taught healthy ways in which to be in relationship with that energy. But it is certainly not appropriate to spank or shame a child for sexual exploration of their own body. Because when you do that, you are sexually abusing that child because of the negative attachment of energy to it. Anytime you judge sexual energy, you're offering abuse to that energy, because that judgment is looking at all of the shadow, all of the negativity, is not looking at anything beautiful and wonderful about that energy. And so that judgment is that which actually expands the negativity. So when you look at sexuality, look at it with eyes of innocence, with eyes of sacredness. Even if you look and you see someone else engaging sexually in ways that you think is inappropriate, if you judge them for what you consider to be inappropriate behavior, your judgment compounds the so-called inappropriateness, because your judgment is attaching a negative energy. Your judgment is not offering anything fruitful, is not offering anything abundant. It would be far better to embrace the innocence of that energy, no matter how one is using that energy, to see with eyes of innocence. To see, with eyes of wisdom, to offer a vision of wisdom. Even if there are ways in which there needs to be evolvement and growth and learning, to hold the intention that there would be that evolvement, that growth, that learning, so that the way that you think about them becomes a way in which you are helping to raise them up to a higher level. You're being an accessory to the betterment of their life rather than an accessory to the negativity. Because when you judge them, it's much like if you saw someone being swallowed up by quicksand, and rather than extending a hand of helpfulness to them, you put your foot on their head, push them down, and quicken their doom. That is what it is like to have dark judgments upon the energy of sexuality. Again, it's innocent, it's pure, it's divine. So let go of the judging. You want to be creatively open. Many of the people who are very creatively blocked are also people who are perpetually pushing down the sexual energy. Sexual energy is something to be welcomed into your energy field, whether you have an outlet through relationship to fulfill it or not. You are meant to be in such a healthy relationship with this energy that you can have very intense sexual desire with no outlet for it, and that desire in and of itself becomes its own brand of fulfillment because you're allowing that energy to just be. This is when you transcend the tendency to be in frustration. You were never meant to be frustrated around your sexual energy. And when intense desire is there, you don't have to do anything with it. And yes, it's wonderful if you do have a sacred outlet on a physical level for it, but you don't have to. If you just allow that energy to be and just sit with that energy and be with that energy, then it begins to smooth out within your body and also gives great vitality to the body. And then you're able to take that energy and sublimate it and wield it as a means of manifesting and creating other things that may be important to you in your life. So be in a healthy relationship with your sexual energy. And that's very, very important. Doesn't matter what you do with other people with it. You must be in healthy relationship with it in your own body. And that means you always welcome it and you never shut your door to it. It's really, really important. You want to also honor the sexual attractions that you may experience. Being is really one. I don't care how many beings you are attracted to. The root of every being is God, Goddess, Absolute. And since the root of every being is God, Goddess, Absolute, in truth, every time you made love with another being, at the root of that experience, you were making love with God because the life force within them is God, Goddess, Absolute. Albeit there are personality traits and things of that nature, and yes, when you do copulate with another person, you will be subject to absorbing some of the energetics of who they are. So it's a good question to ask yourself, would I be okay if I owned a great measure of the personality traits of this person? Because when you copulate, you do absorb, the energy of the other. And so having some measure of compatibility with regards to how your minds work, with regards to, what you're pursuing spiritually, who you are in your emotional makeup and all of that, so that as you come together sexually with others, it can be a means through which you both become very empowered. But even during times when you connect with people that are not healthy for you, and you go through painful experiences and you absorb energies that, are not in alignment with you, then that contrast of misalignment can become the catalyst through which you become a stronger individual. Sometimes those experiences feel like they slam you down to the canvas of life, but then you get up stronger than you were before you went down. And so if you were not knocked down sometimes in life, you wouldn't really know how much get-up power you have. So everything can be servant unto you, and it is good to be discerning at the same time. When you experience multiple attractions, even if you're in a committed relationship, the likelihood is quite strong that you'll feel powerful sexual attractions to others. Now, if you have a monogamous relationship and you have a promise of exclusivity, then it's a beautiful thing to honor that promise and be exclusive at the physical level. That's, physical monogamy. But guess what? Emotional monogamy and the monogamizing of love is virtually an impossibility, because there are always emotional interchanges. Even though you can restrain yourself from being physical with another being, quite often you'll find yourself emotionally engaging another being. You'll find yourself feeling very powerful emotional or sexual attractions to others. And that too is very innocent. You don't want to judge yourself, blame or shame yourself for that. It's a natural occurrence. Some people do harshly judge themselves for that. They never even acted on it physically, but make themselves so bad and wrong just because they felt an attraction. But this is a natural occurrence at a level of chemistry. You see, it isn't something that one intellectually says, well, now I'm going to be sexually attracted to this or that one. It's a natural occurrence that takes place. And because, again, God, Goddess Absolute is the root of every being, it is the magnetism unto the Creator Absolute. And furthermore, every being is simply the many-facetedness of the one great being. You know, you really have only been in love with one being who keeps changing forms. Because there's never more than one, even though that one expresses itself in a multitude of ways. You know, this is the amazing gift that we give unto our Creator. We give the gift of individuality. We give the gift of personification. You know, because God, Goddess Absolute has a huge appetite to experience His, herself in an infinite number of ways through individual expression and personification in a body. And so we give that gift because God, Goddess Absolute, would not know what it is like to be personified in a body except for those of us who have come into incarnation. And so we give a great gift. Also, when we engage in the sacred act of copulation, we are giving God, Goddess Absolute, the gift of the physical experience of sexuality. God, Goddess Absolute knows the celestial sexuality, but the experience of physical sexuality, God, Goddess Absolute has to partake of through those of us who are incarnated here within a body. So we offer unto God, Goddess Absolute, a whole new version of the juice through our physicalness. It's really important that we have a lot of sacred use for the juice. It's a really, really important thing. Now, in our world, we also have many people that become sexual predators and sexual perpetrators, and I don't care how horrible one is behaving. I'll tell you what, you know, the lowest devil can't go lower than the lowest that we are all capable of, even if we're not engaging in that in this particular lifetime. You know, it's quite likely that we have in other lifetimes. Okay, so we want to have compassion even for the perpetrator, because the lowest perpetrator, the lowest devil, can't go lower than the lowest that we're all capable of. As the highest angel can't fly higher than the highest that we are all capable of. When we have this dark energy and judgment toward the perpetrator, you know, then we become a perpetrator. You know, to judge the perpetrator is to be a perpetrator without knowing that that's what we're doing, because, again, we are compounding the shadow energy. We can only expand the energy of light by keeping our resonance in touch with exalted, beautiful feelings, you know, innocence, and holding the highest potential possibilities in our vision for every being in the whole of existence. And by holding that, you know, we create a trust fund for them of energy that they'll be able to partake of when they evolve to such a level that they are a vibrational match and they are at resonance with this high vibration that we have held for them. Life is just so beautiful and so wonderful. The other thing is remembering that when we're making love, that what we're thinking about as we're making love is given a tremendous amount of power. So when you're making love with your beloved, you might want to make it a sexual prayer or a tantric prayer, you know, where as you're making love, you're also offering that energy to thoughts and intentions that you're holding about your life that you want to come into being. And then that same energy that might have went forth otherwise to make a baby will go forth to create a magical child of the manifestation of some important intention that you are holding in your life. So let us come back to the innocence of sexuality and be at resonance with sacred sexuality. Be at resonance with erotic energy, erotic innocence. It is such a beautiful and a wonderful and a pure and an empowering energy. I love you so much. I am Astarius Miraculi. Please subscribe to my channel and partake of my videos, which is more than 90 at this point, and share them forward. You know, if you love them and they are inspiring to you, then share them with at least 5 people and assist me in expanding this message. I'm a psychic astrologer, and I do sound healing with didgeridoo and vocal harmonics, and I have a great number of CDs and a couple of books. My website is astarius.com, ASTARIUS.com. Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, In Lakesh, Alakim, Shalom, Satnam, Hari Om. I love you so much.